Thank you.
Well, we've got a bunch of questions, and
Fantastic.
we've been starting with the prosecutor. And so we will start with the prosecutor again.
Okay.
I have a list of questions I've told the prior candidates I'm going to ask. They're in no particular order on my page. I'm going to go down from top to bottom, asking you all the same questions so that it's apples to apples when it comes time to make a decision. So that being said, my first question is, why do you want to be the Antrim County Sheriff?
I want to be the Antrim County Sheriff. Like I said earlier, I've been here for over 27 years. I have a lot more to offer for this agency. I have a lot of great ideas. I got a lot of sergeants right now that have some great leadership skills, and I want to continue that with my staff.
Who would your choice of undersheriff be?
That is George Lassiter.
In the context of being the sheriff and the head of the office, how important is training in your view?
Training is extremely important. You have to be on your game in this business. When you don't have your deputies or your officers, whether they're corrections deputies, 911 central dispatch, whether they're road deputies, they need to be trained to the best of their ability.
Do you engage in any training outside of what is required by the current policy of the sheriff's office?
Yes.
Such as?
At this point here, obviously we've done legal update. Outside of that, we've done, we have SWAT training for the individuals on the SWAT team. We have Northern Michigan Mutual Aid dive team. We have 2 officers that are on that currently. We have individuals that go out and they do competition shooting training to keep up with their skills in inquiring with the actual training for firearms.
From a personal standpoint, do you participate in any personal defensive tactics outside of the department, be it jujitsu, karate?
I do not. No, I don't.
What about shooting?
Yes.
Your shooting. Okay.
Yes.
And then these two can kind of go together. Any professional reading that you do as far as leadership or anything of that nature?
I have a lot of my leadership books that I first line supervising. I read a lot of that.
If you were to make a professional reading list for your office, what are 3 books that you would put on?
The first one would be first line supervision book. The next one is a leadership by, oh gosh, by the I can't remember the author of it. I can't think of the third one that I have.
And what about, this kind of coincides with the reading list, but I've asked the other, situational defensive tactics. So in Northern Michigan, occasionally you'll run into a case where you have a suspect that is barricaded in a home or doesn't want to come out or anything, and you need to come up with a tactical plan to either encourage them to come out or actually extract them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done anything on your own to help you navigate a situation like that?
Yes, we used to do quite a bit of that on midnight shift. We would actually train in the hangars over in the airport here. We would actually take all different sides. One of them would be deputy would be a contact deputy. The other one would be the contacting with central dispatch. And another officer would be actually in contact with the possible suspect.
So now I'll move on to a scenario that doesn't involve training, but so you go to the range and it's somebody, let's not to demote you, but let's make you be a sergeant again. You're on the firing line, there's a fellow sergeant and you're qualifying at the rifle range or the pistol range. And your fellow sergeant and friend is an absolute non-shooter. But you know that he lies about his score and you're self-scoring. You know that he's lying about his score because he didn't qualify at the range, and his failure to qualify will have an impact on future promotion. But you know that he's lied about it. Nobody else knows but you. What do you do?
Well, he's going to be a reprimanded. He's going to be written up.
Okay, but keep in mind he's a fellow sergeant, so you're not.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a peer-to-peer situation. What do you do?
I'm going to go to the supervisor, the undersheriff.
Okay. And do what?
I'm gonna let them know what's going on.
Okay. Next, do you support the death penalty?
No, I do not.
Not related to the death penalty, but aside from compensation and pay, which as a sheriff, you wouldn't have control over, that falls to the commissioners. What would you do to retain employees throughout the office? Understanding that your employees aren't just deputies, they're corrections officers, you have an administrative staff. What would you do to help maintain or retain?
Well, morale's a big thing. You have to keep your employees, you got to keep them happy. Training, like I said earlier, training is a big thing. Giving them attaboys, giving them thank you cards, letting them know that, yeah, you're our employee, but you're also, we're human beings. We also, people need to be praised. They need to have a thank you.
To date, what has been the most impactful felony case that you have been involved in?
There's several of them. The one that comes to mind is where we got a tip of all the property that was stolen in home invasions that I worked on extensively. We actually got a search warrant. Actually, I drew up the search warrant affidavit along with Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, where we went all the way to Saginaw County, and we were able to retrieve all the all the property that was stolen in the felony complaint.
What type of administrative experience do you have?
Administrative experience I have, I'm a graduate of Northwestern University Police Staff and Command School. That was in 2019. And I was a road sergeant at that time. After I graduated from the Northwestern University, I was given the administrative sergeant role, and then I was the interim undersheriff, and now currently undersheriff.
So, as the administrative sergeant, what did that entail?
That entailed on getting deputies set up for training, getting them set up for certain uniforms, the outer carriers. I implemented that.
When you say outer carriers, are you referring to
the outer
ballistic vests?
bulletproof vest? Yes.
And in your role as undersheriff, what administrative duties do you have?
Working a $4.5 million budget. That entails road patrol, and then you have the $520,000 budget for the corrections. You have the SRP, which is secondary road patrol, and you have zero tolerance. You have central dispatch. They have a 911 budget that's $1 million, and then they have a training budget that's $10,000.
Describe your leadership philosophy.
My leadership philosophy is lead by example. I'm going to go in and they're going to follow you. I'm going to be the first one in, the last one out.
How do you achieve that?
Working with the guys side by side, working with your employees side by side. Let's go to the finish line together.
How would you handle discipline?
Discipline, depending on what they did. If it's a situation where it could be a conversation between myself and one of my sergeants, that'd be great. If not, if it's a conversation that is constantly being held, then there's going to be a 6-month letter put in their file.
And you mentioned it earlier, but how would you handle commendations or positive, I guess another way to say it, positive reinforcement of employees?
Like I said earlier, you gotta thank your officers, your employees, whether it's a thank you card in their mailbox or hand delivering it to them. I've given out awards for deputies for saving somebody's life. Accommodations such as a letter, a certificate.
And again, this is a question that I have asked the other two prior candidates, but given recent events over the last several years, some days law enforcement isn't held in the brightest of light, what would you do to maintain or improve morale?
Morale. It's yeah, you gotta look at the recruitment. It's very far in between right now. We're actually sponsoring recruits. That helps with morale. It brings up that new recruit. When they get out there with the field training officer, you're side by side. You're talking to the FTO. You're making sure that they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. You're praising them. You're giving the FTO, hey, you're doing a great job. And don't constantly be breathing down your deputy's neck. You're trusting them to take care of the county, taking care of complaints, taking care of the citizens. And that's what they're supposed to be doing. Don't micromanage.
So another hypothetical, but not quite so hypothetical because you've been here for 27 years. But you worked with somebody for 20 years as an equal, and then you suddenly find yourself in a leadership position, such as, I mean, maybe being appointed as the undersheriff or as the sheriff, perhaps. Can you separate those personal feelings and make a decision based on what's in the best interest of the office and not the friendship?
Absolutely.
Have you had to do that at any point up to now?
I have not.
As an undersheriff, you have a certain amount of, I've used the same term, cover, so to speak, for decisions that you make. And what I mean by that is if I don't like the decision you've made regarding whatever my situation may be, I have someone above you to go and complain to, being the sheriff.
That is correct.
As the sheriff, you don't have anybody above you. You feel the brunt of the complaint. Are you prepared for that level of responsibility?
I am.
Why do you think so?
Like I said before, I've been doing this job a long time. I'm ready. It's obvious. I got the training. I got the leadership skills to take this on.
Last question. How do you see your role as the sheriff as what would be an elected position, an elected official? And I say that with this in mind. A situation arises and you know that what you believe to be the right decision will cost you re-election, or what you believe to be the wrong decision, you'll take a little bit of heat, but you will be re-elected. You choose the hard right or the easy wrong?
I'm not going to choose the part to get reelected. You got to do the right thing.
That concludes my questions.
Madam Clerk.
Okay. What is your ideal work environment?
Oh boy. Starts at 7 a.m. As I get in, I start going through all my emails, and I continue that with budgets, meetings all day long, whether it's with human resources, whether it's with a township meeting. And obviously that continues into the night hours with other meetings that are held in the Board of Commissioners room. There's times I don't get home till 9, 10 o'clock at night.
What was your greatest failure on the job?
My greatest failure is when I tried for sergeant. I didn't get it. I eventually did.
What inspired you to pursue a career in criminal justice?
Well, it inspired me when I was about 5 years old. My mother worked at a restaurant many, many years ago, and policemen used to come in quite a bit. And they were extremely honorable individuals. I've always been intrigued, wanted to be that person to assist citizens, to be there for them for whatever they needed.
Okay. How would your previous employers describe you way back when?
They would explain me as honest. My integrity is very open. I'm an open individual. I'm everything has to be in line. And there's been several cases where I've handled where we had in-car cameras, and I had some of the deputies were kind of making fun because I'd always talking to the camera and because of the integrity of pouring out alcohol or saying there's this much alcohol in the can and all that. So
What are your strengths as an officer and a leader?
the strengths, constantly on time. I'm always there for the guys and the gals whenever they need something. I'm a phone call away. They call, I answer. I don't let it go to voicemail. It's just you have to have leadership in always being there, making sure that your people can depend on you.
How do you handle stress and tense situations?
Well, I do a lot of running. I've done the Bayshore. I've done a lot of 5 and 10Ks in the community. And that's one of the things that I do. I actually do a lot of running. I used to do a lot of running with my wife until she decided to do something different. And that's how I take care of stress and being tense.
Thank you.
Yes.
What is the most significant issue facing the Antrim County Sheriff's Department today?
Most significant, technology. We're getting there. We have MCTs in the vehicle, but it's becoming obsolete. We're looking at a new computer programming. It's called RMS One Solution at this point here, and we're actually looking at a $1 million task on that.
And what will that allow you to do?
It'll allow where our reports won't get lost. It'll allow where things aren't held up in the cloud.
And what is your vision for the Sheriff's Department 10 years from now?
10 years from now, looking at more vehicle cameras in the vehicles, upgrading our body cameras, and hopefully having a better facility for the personnel to work in and for the inmates to be in.
And what are the issues that are facing our townships?
A lot of the township issues right now, you're looking at people speeding. That's their biggest issue. They're constantly talking about speeders. What can we do about it? How can we, stop a vehicle speeding down the road? Well, we have several different speed signs. We've talked about putting them in each township. We have 4 of them. We can only do so much at a time. We put it there for a week, and then we put an officer there. And the speed sign is their warning. And then after that, the officer has a nice conversation with them.
Okay. I asked some of the other candidates, the other 2 candidates about investigating for death threats and that sort of thing. But I know you're aware of that, and with Sheriff Bean, you've done that, and you've provided courtroom security. So I don't think I really need to bring that up. I can kind of wait those questions. So, do you have any other things you want to ask?
Yes. Is there anything that you have not been asked about that you feel is important for the board to know?
Can't think of anything at this point here. Question is to you, if I can ask you a question. What are you looking for in a sheriff? Is that something I can ask you?
Sure. Communication for me, as it is with any department. If we can communicate together, that's the main thing. And I know Sheriff Bean's always been willing to go above and beyond for the court if we needed something. And it was likewise that way too. I mean, with me, if I had somebody in jail that needed to be somewhere else or needed to be released or whatever, I'd work with you to do that. But communication is.
I agree. I agree. You know, and obviously as a sheriff, you know, we hold up the Constitution extremely high.
Sure. No,
I think I'm good.
And my answer would be to have a continued relationship with the sheriff's office, whomever it may be, where communication goes back and forth. And as I said earlier, we may not always agree, but there's that communication that ultimately then serves for the betterment of the county.
Thank you.
well, we're pretty much done with the interviews. Short, concise answer.
Yes, so.
Boom. Yeah. We do want to offer an opportunity for everybody to make short public comment. I don't know. Thank you. So you can have a seat with your wife.
I'm going to.
Actually, before we get to the public comment, as far as discussion goes, I'm not certain if anybody wishes to make a motion today, or if you wish to think about what we've heard today, and then we'll come back on another day and make a motion, or what would you like?
I would make a motion that that we take a few days or a period of time to digest what we've heard in the interviews and responses and weigh it out. And this is an important decision. I would rather spend a little more time on it than make a decision right away.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? So you're asking for a motion to adjourn for today. We'll still have public comment in just a minute, but we'll continue it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carried. Do you want to come up with a date today, since we have citizens here? And it might be easiest just to get a date. Do you have a calendar?
No, that's the one thing I didn't
Do you want to
bring.
go get it?
I can-
Yeah,
I can- I can-
you have it right there, don't you? Wait a minute.
Most of it.
Do you have his calendar? No offense.
I know who keeps me on it.
I'm gonna go ask for mine too.
Oh,
I'll be right back. You can just have a seat. We're just trying to come up with a date. How does the 19th in the afternoon look?
The 19th of July, I believe
Right.
that works.
Say 1 o'clock?
Sure.
Well, that's a first.
I couldn't say no to keep it from the first, but
You could, yeah. July 19th at 1 o'clock. How's that? Cheryl, I didn't hear anything from you other than,
Clerks make it happen.
I know you do. Public comment. Just ask your name and township.
Mark Irving, Banks Township. Thank you for all three of you for your good questions and your willingness to interview and give each one the opportunity. Thank you also, Judge Hayes, for recognizing the letters you've received. Those, as you and I probably both know, that you represent 22,000 plus voters in the county, and the majority of the letters that you received were for Mr. Mullador, because these people have interviewed him, have met with him, and with others, and those are the ones that they he's the one they recognize as having the most experience for the position, and the most has taken the most opportunities to be involved in many different types of training and education. Just would like to encourage you to consider the resumes and their experience, and also the desire of the voters.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Sure.
I'm Richard Frisky from Banks Township. It's a little bit hard for me to speak because, especially these two gentlemen that are still in here, I know them both personally, and I agree with the judge that we're very blessed to have this caliber of candidates, and so I don't know that there's a bad decision here. But I have personally interviewed both of these gentlemen at least over quite a period of time, over the last year or so. This is before this position. We knew this was going to be an appointed position. I knew these men were considering running for sheriff. And I'm really kind of a fairly close neighbor to Mr. Mullador and his family, know his family quite well. Same township, same community for a long time. And I do believe that Matt stands out as the best candidate here today. I think even his willingness to leave our county for a time and really broaden his experience, and the depth of that is remarkable. And I would just encourage you to consider very carefully. I think Matt would make the best sheriff of the candidates that we've interviewed today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll let you go. You're up.
Thank you. Dale Eschenberg from Helena Township. And like Richard, I've gotten to know Matt over the past year. I think very highly of him from what I've discussed with him, and met his wife recently as well. And she obviously supports her husband and his endeavors very well. So, but the biggest thing that I see Matt bringing to the party here is just his attitude, his sincerity, and I was really impressed that he asked the three of you questions, and then of what his job should be, what his role should be, what his focus should be, and then as he obtained that from you, he was able to speak back very clearly how he's already doing that in his current position. So I think he's the right man for the job.
Thank you.
Just wanted to talk on Matt Mullador's behalf here. I'm Rob Pellerito. I'm former Otsego County Commissioner, Matt's boss, so to speak. Worked closely over the last 6 years with him as he built budgets and presented it to me on the budget and finance committees. But most importantly, Matt gets involved with his community. He gets involved with the youth, the important building stones of our communities, keeps them on the straight and narrow, works with them to keep them off of drugs, alcohol, tobacco products, that type of thing. And that's one of the important things I think for all our electeds to do is to be involved in their communities. And Matt talks the talk and walks the walk. He is absolutely above and beyond what you would expect as a sheriff for your community. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Eschenberg. I live in Helena Township, and I'd just like to read an excerpt of my letter that I sent all of you regarding Matt Mallador,
Okay.
just in case you weren't able to read it. I have met Matt Mallador on several occasions and find him to be an honest and hardworking individual who's community-oriented and family dedicated. We can use a man of his character who shares the values of the county and will work towards a safe and healthy environment for us to live in. Please consider all the fine attributes Matt has to offer, such as his leadership as undersheriff of Otsego County and vast experience he will bring to the responsibility of the Antrim County interim sheriff. Thank you for your consideration of my opinion.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm gonna say something. I wasn't.
Sure.
I think you have, yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? I think that all three candidates are of good caliber. I think I've known all three of them. I've known John for a long time. I've known Matt for a long time, probably longer than almost any of them, and then Kevin. And I think they all have the integrity to do the job. I think they all have good family backgrounds. I think they're all good-hearted people. I think that what brings to the table is Kevin being here in the county as long as he has, knowing the people and knowing what's going on. Kevin does a great job for me as undersheriff, excuse me, and as a sergeant. So I would, I just stand here and say that, keeping it in-house for the time and let the voters make a decision in 24. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
What a politician. We both
Say that out loud.
Oh, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none. Let me just echo a comment here a little bit. Unfortunately, I've had to do this or take part in this appointment process a few times. And generally, it's not with retirement, it's with somebody passing on, and which is always a difficult circumstance. But I think there's a reason that the law requires that the prosecutor, the probate judge, and the county clerk are the ones to make an interim appointment of a sheriff. And that's because we work closely with that position. The county clerk obviously understands the operation, the money wise and everything. The prosecutor clearly works closely, is closer than any of us, I think, with the sheriff's department. And of course, the court really relies on the sheriff's department to do and take care of the court operation, quite frankly. We couldn't operate without the sheriff's department and the dedicated individuals that come in and provide security. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier, PPOs, personal protection orders, my goodness, they're just getting more and more that we need to do as a court. And of course, the sheriff's department has to serve them, has to enforce them. And it just adds a tremendous burden on the sheriff's department as well. So I think there's a reason why the three of us and the positions that we're in are the ones that make the appointment when there is a vacancy. And I understand there's been interested people that have sent letters. If it were a court case, my staff would intercept every one of those and rip them up. Because I can't know anything, what anybody else wants me to know about somebody. But this isn't a court case, it's simply an appointment process. But if it were a court case, I couldn't read any of those. But I read every one. And certainly there's good people that support the candidates, both candidates, or all three, excuse me, John. But good people that support all three candidates, but it's our responsibility to look at what's best for Antrim County, and not just one particular area of Antrim County, but the entire county. There are some issues that are facing this county and the sheriff's department in particular, and not through the fault of Sheriff Bean at all. It's just through age and things that are happening that are really going to address what needs to be done in the future. And we need candidates aware of those concerns, aware of what our needs are in the townships as well. And I'm just so impressed with the three candidates that we had here today. I wish I could take a couple of you back when I did a Otsego County Sheriff appointment years ago and have you apply. But I'm no longer over there, so. But that just tells you that the quality of the candidates is just incredible. So anyway, July 19th, we've already had a motion to continue it, and that's what we'll do. July 19th at 1 o'clock. Thank you all.